Well, as we continue tonight, I would like to encourage you to continue taking out that cell phone and texting to give to the foundation. I will tell you this is one of those rare instances where I will tell you it's okay to take out your phone at dinner. I normally frown on that, but I encourage you to keep on donating so that we can reach our goal tonight, and it is surely for a good cause. Now I would like to invite to the podium Dudley Goodlett, a director of Florida Lawyers Mutual Insurance Company, to present the Medal of Honor Award. Flemmick has sponsored the Medal of Honor Award for many years, and we sincerely thank them for their continued sponsorship of the Foundation's highest award. And it's fitting that Dudley will present the award since he received the Medal of Honor Award in 2005. Dudley?
I may have to adjust the mic just a little bit. It has been Florida Lawyer Mutual Insurance Company's a great pleasure and honor indeed to sponsor the awards that we're handing out this evening. For more than a decade, we have sponsored this award. All of the past recipients of the Medal of Honor are listed on page 14 of your program, and several of us are here this evening. I would like to invite all of the past recipients to stand and to be recognized. The Medal of Honor Award, which recognizes outstanding achievements in the improvement of the administration of justice, is given in two categories, as most of you know, lawyer and non-lawyer. Many of the worthy individuals are nominated each year for the Medal of Honor Award, which of course recognizes individuals who have helped improve and advance the justice system and who embrace the Florida bar's ideals of unity and service and duty as well. Dr. Louis B. Petery, excuse me, a cardiologist from Tallahassee Primary Care Associates, will tonight receive the Medal of Honor Award for the non-lawyer category. His leadership and legislative advocacy on behalf of the children on Medicaid has led to funding increases and substantial changes in that system. When Dr. St. Petery sued on behalf of children for Medicaid who weren't receiving the medical or dental care to which they were entitled, he attended more than 40 depositions and almost every day of his 90-day bench trial. Because of his attendance and his analysis, he solved the mystery of why so many children were switched from one provider to another, often, much more often than the coverage that was terminated. In another case, Dr. St. Petery recruited counsel to block the Department of Health from using a new screening tool that prevented 13,000 children with special health care needs from receiving services. He served as the plaintiff and a pro bono expert witness, and the state was forced to cease using that screening tool. He then testified and was the rulemaking workshop, which resulted in improved screening tools around the state. For more than 25 years, Dr. St. Petery served as executive director of the Tallahassee Pediatric Foundation, a nonprofit organization that coordinates activities for the pediatric health care and Medicare and child care health insurance programs. He was appointed by Governor Jeb Bush to the Florida Healthy Kids Board and created by the Florida legislature. Dr. St. Petery, please join me now on the stage so that I can read proudly the citation accompanying the foundation presentation of your Medal of Honor award. For his lifetime commitment to improving medical care for children in Florida as a pediatric cardiologist and phenomenally effective advocate for reform of the state's Medicaid system, which has led to successful litigation and an immense impact on the care provided to poor children. After Dr. Louis St. Petery sued on behalf of children on Medicaid who weren't receiving medical or dental care to which they were entitled, a monumental settlement was reached that resulted in millions of additional dollars in funding and a multi-year process that would transform the program from one of the worst to one of the most well-performing as the national's norms. When he recruited counsel to block the Department of Health from using a new screening tool that knocked 13,000 children with special health care needs out of Florida's children's medical services. He served as the plaintiff's pro bono expert witness, and the state was forced to cease using the screening tool. He has served numerous organizations, making legislative recommendations and continuing programs. The changes, the lives of our individual numbers of children with these remarkable accomplishments. Dr. St. Petery is most deserving recipient of this award from the Florida Bar Foundation this evening. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. I'm deeply honored to receive this award. I was totally shocked to hear that I had been chosen. But I must say that it couldn't have been done without those of you in this room, without the attorneys. When my wife, Judy, who's here with me, and I were in our pediatric training at the University of Florida in Gainesville, our academic godfather, Dr. Gerald Schiebler, told us that we needed to remember that children didn't vote. Their parents were young. Their parents didn't vote. Children didn't choose to be born to poor families. They didn't choose to be born to rich families. And it was up to us to advocate for them. They could not advocate for themselves, and their parents frequently couldn't advocate for them. And my wife and I set up practice in Tallahassee, which turned out to be the center of a lot of child health activity, and we were thrust into that. We were shocked during the early days of our practice to find that poor children on Medicaid couldn't achieve the same access to health and dental care as could children who were on private insurance. And after about 20 years, I and others with the Florida Pediatric Society spoke to governors, we spoke to Medicaid directors, we spoke to bureaucrats, we spoke to legislators, and we had nothing to show for what we had done. We then met the folks from the Public Interest Law Center of Philadelphia, Tom Gilhool initially, and then others who succeeded him. They taught us that, wow, Title 19 at the federal level assured that children on Medicaid were to have equal and prompt access to health and dental care, as did children on private insurance. And he introduced us to the Boies Schiller Flexner firm in Fort Lauderdale, specifically Stuart Singer and Carl Goldfarb, who took us by the hand and led us through what is now a 12-year experience of suing the state of Florida to accomplish this goal. I can't believe it. They're still in there with us. We have quarterly settlement talks with the state each year, and we will be entering the third and final year soon in October. And yet they're still there at every moment and have done all of this pro bono. There was mention made of the fact that the Department of Health decided in its wisdom to drop about a quarter of the kids with special health care needs from their specialized program, Children's Medical Services, which has national acclaim, has done more to help poor children who are fragile with special needs than any other state. And yet they chose to screen them out using a tool. Paulo Anino from the Public Interest Law Center of Florida State is here this evening, and he and his staff again led me to how they hadn't promulgated a rule, and through the administrative hearing process, the judge ordered them to cease using that tool, ordered them to develop a new tool, which I and others who were participating were able to help in the formation of, and that has revolutionized now the admission of kids into this program. I also want to point out that the free press has been instrumental in a lot of this. The press has helped us immensely in a lot of these cases, as well as the attorneys. And in particular, there is a case dealing with the Department of Health where for about 40 years there's been in place a rule in the Department of Health that outlines the care that children with congenital heart disease. I practice pediatric cardiology, so this is an area near and dear to my heart. It outlines the care that they are to receive, and up until recently, there were only 8 facilities in the state of Florida who met those standards and who took care of those children. And it's not like the facilities for the elderly with coronary artery disease. You can have one of those on every street corner because the population of the elderly is so large. The child health population, the children population with heart disease is very small. The birth rate in Florida is pretty constant. It isn't increasing dramatically, and so there's a limited number of centers if you're going to have the expertise. A particular facility did not choose to adhere to those standards. A number of children died, and the Free Press reported this, brought it to everyone's attention, and what did the Department of Health do? A knee-jerk response: abolish those rules, solve the problem. And again, we were able to receive the help of the Moyle law firm in Tallahassee, who challenged them in an administrative hearing, prevented them from dropping the rule, and subsequently the problem's been solved by putting that rule in statute so that the agency can't willy-nilly drop these standards which have protected so many children. And then finally, I think you're aware of the Dox versus Glocks case, wherein the NRA had the legislature in Florida put in legislation that said that we healthcare providers couldn't ask parents about whether they had a gun in the home. And our goal was to counsel parents about how to keep their children alive. When my wife and I first entered practice in Tallahassee in the 1970s, the first funeral we went to was where a toddler found the loaded handgun in the parent's bedside drawer, got it out, shot his sibling in the head, killed him. Should never happen. The loaded handgun shouldn't have been there. It should have at least been stored properly. Marion Hammer's been on my case that I want to get rid of all the guns in the state. That's not true. I tell everyone that my wife was an only child. Her daddy was a hunter in Tallahassee, and he bought her a .410 shotgun, and that came as her dowry when we got married. and that still is under our bed, and we raised 3 kids with the 410 there, but we stored the ammunition separate and nobody got hurt. So when this law passed, our governor signed it, and I got a call from the Brady Consortium. I was at that point the executive vice president for the pediatricians of the state. They wanted to know if I would like for them to represent us pro bono and challenge this law that they thought was unconstitutional. I, of course, was overjoyed, said yes. They brought in the firm of Robeson Gray, who then took this case pro bono, and federal district court in the Southern District in Miami declared the law unconstitutional. Our governor appealed it to the 11th Circuit. It took 6 years, and finally the 11th Circuit, in an en banc ruling, said no, it is unconstitutional, a 10-to-1 decision, in which prevented the governor from going forward and appealing it to the Supreme Court. But none of these cases would have happened without attorneys. We as pediatricians are unable to solve any of these issues. I never realized how powerful the NRA was. I never realized how powerful the bureaucracy was in this state and other states. And if it wasn't for you all and your colleagues, none of this would ever happen. The children of Florida and the pediatricians of Florida are eternally in your debt, and in the debt of the Free Press, who also helped all of these cases along. And thank you so much. I am very honored.
Thank you, Dr. Petery, again and again for your continuing commitment to our children. Next, it is my distinct honor and privilege and pleasure indeed to present the Medal of Honor Award for a lawyer to Howard Talenfeld as managing partner of Talenfeld Law and the founding president of Florida's Children First. Howard is being recognized for his legislative efforts that improve services for dependent children with special needs and for foster children, for his advocacy that led to an improved child welfare system, for his leadership of one of Florida's premier children advocacy organizations, and his almost 40 years of representation of at-risk children and adults. After he was the lead counsel in a Broward County foster care class action in 1998, the district nearly tripled its child welfare budget with a settlement that has reached for almost 20 years, was reached after almost 20 years. Howard has continued to work with the state and with local agencies to implement the terms and to improve the delivery of services to dependent children, most significantly as a statute that provides representation to dependent children with special needs. In 2002, Howard established Florida's Children First, uniting advocates for children across the state. In 2011, he delivered the Tracy McParton, Dependency Pro Bono Project to recruit and train attorneys to provide pro bono representation of at-risk children and dependent children. Howard, please come and join me while I again read the Profit Foundation Medal of Honor Awards citation. For his 40 years of extraordinary service and devotion to Florida's through his pioneering leadership as founder of Florida's Children First, his indefatigable work to protect the legal rights of children and adults with disabilities, and his zealous advocacy that led to the improvement of the child welfare system. Howard Talenfeld has been a champion of Florida's most vulnerable children and adults as a formidable legal talent and compelled government agencies to reform welfare and development disability standards of care. As a progressive advocate who secured the passage of legislation that significantly improved the services to which dependent children with special needs and foster children are entitled. As president of Florida's Children First as a premier statewide children's advocacy organization, all of this while being a tireless provider of pro bono representation. When Howard endeavored to create a project providing pro bono representation to dependent children, he facilitated the recruiting and the training of more than 100 attorneys. For these and countless other contributions to the improvement of the administration of justice in Florida, we proudly recognize Howard Talenfeld with the Florida Bar Foundation's highest honor. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow. I am truly humbled by what I am sure is the most important award I will ever receive. I can tell you that if it weren't for the work of so many others for whom I need to accept this award with, this could not have ever happened up to this point. I truly believe that I want to share this award, and so because of this, I want to mention these people so that you understand the importance of what all of you do and what everybody can do and make something happen and change the lives of children. In the late 1980s, Florida got sued, and I had the privilege of representing Governor Bob Martinez, Secretary Greg Kohler, Governor Lawton Chiles, many others. And I learned something that was far more important as an advocate and a lawyer, and that is that winning those lawsuits was not what was important, but changing the system. And that's exactly what these folks taught me from the inside. But then there were the child advocates who sued the state of Florida. Many of you are here, and I want to share this award with you. People like Bernie Perlmutter, Alice Nelson, Jody Siegel, Michael Dale, Carol Schofer, Jim Green. You sued the state because we weren't doing the right thing for children. And what you taught me was that the long-term career where we can work and change the systems was from the outside, to be an advocate, not just to be, somebody that is going to move from term to term like governors and elected officials do. The Florida Bar Foundation, 20 years ago, convened a meeting at Nova Southeastern University of folks that were important, the ones suing the state because the foster care system was failing. They wanted to do something about it. They wanted to organize a lawsuit. And so there were people that came together with the Florida Bar Foundation, being the group that supported this. Karen Gievers, Robin Rosenberg, Jerry Glynn, Ted Babbitt, and so many others. And these are the people that ultimately became the first board of directors of Florida Children's First. We immediately were funded by the Florida Bar Foundation. You gave us instant credibility because with the money you provided, we had the opportunity to grow and to fight for children. And so at the same time, we had a Florida Bar president here, Edith Osman, who decided we needed a commission to protect the legal needs of children. And she put that together with Judge Sandy Carlin chairing it. And they worked for 3 years, and they created a document that has withstood the test of time, the document that said every child needs a lawyer, needs somebody to protect them, and so many other things. But that's what this first Legal Needs Commission did. But that wasn't enough by itself, because it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen, and then we had President Miles McGrain. And President McGrain decided that 2004 was going to be the year of the child, and we were going to create the Standing Legal Needs for Children as a standing committee to look at this issue every single year, because it was elevated to that importance with this Florida Bar and Florida Bar Foundation. Paul Doyle, Jane Curran at the time, they supported the work that we did at Florida Children's First to fight to achieve this vision of the first report. And so we had the opportunity, we had the immediate support, and we immediately moved forward. But you know, that by itself wasn't enough. It wasn't going to happen. We had projects out there that are Florida Foundation Bar granted the grantees, like Palm Beach Legal Aid, Bob Burdish, John and Jim Walsh, Tim Stevenson. These folks proved in Palm Beach County we could create the model system for representation, where guardians and lawyers were working together, doing the right thing, and could improve the length of stay in foster care. It was studied by Chapin Hall, University of Chicago. This is the outstanding national study that the federal government now is following. The American Bar Association is recommending that lawyers and guardians work together to achieve something for children. Now, 2009, we still don't have any legislation. We can't realize this dream. And President Jesse Diner, he decides, let's try to do something with this. Let's give this a jolt. And he put together and he helped engineer a compromise with the Legal Needs of Children Committee that we could take to the Florida legislature and try to implement the original 2002 recommendations. And with that, we got another start, because several years later, 2014, we finally saw an opportunity with the legislature. We saw a change in leadership, and we had a chance. And with that, okay, with the help of Guardian Ad Litem Director, statewide Director Alan Abramowitz, and so many other people at the same time, we were able to pass legislation. And I know Senator Galvano, who was honored today, was in the House and sponsored that legislation, the first legislation to provide lawyers for special needs children in the state of Florida. Whether you were medically fragile, you had developmental disabilities, you were on psychotropic medications, you were victims of trafficking, we did it. We started there. We finally got ourselves into the budget. We finally started to make it happening. And yet, you know, that work couldn't have been done. And I want to talk about this. Florida Children's First, okay? We have amazing leadership. Christina Spadeas, who's been with us for 10 years. Robin Rosenberg, that's been with us as an original director from the beginning. And they're a mighty staff, okay, of folks. That have helped accomplish this. And we've had many board members who've devoted their time, effort, and energy. Some of them are here today. I know that we have Richard Schwamm here, Jake Schickel, I believe, just to name a few. I see Wayne Hogan out there. He was on our board. He helped us with the fight. You know, this is a group of folks. Jesse, Diner, Julie Talenfeld, she helped as well. And she did it in an amazing way, because she has a public relations company, an awesome public relations company, Boardroom Communications here, and you see Michelle standing over there working hard, because they have publicized the work of Florida Children's First for its existence pro bono to make this happen. And there are a few folks that without this work could not just happen, because I have to work. And so my partners here, Stacy Schmerling, and the staff at Talenfeld Law, Lisa Elliott, Nicole, Sharon, Chrissy, Brianna, Erica. You folks are awesome, and you let me do the work. And without your support, we couldn't be doing this. So this year, President Michael Hager decided that let's get this to happen again. We need to achieve the vision of lawyers and guardians working for children, and created a special committee on child and parent representation. And with this, General Secretary Bob Butterworth chaired this along the way. He was also the Attorney General that taught me how well way back when, because he was looking over my shoulder and gave me the assistance to fight to improve these systems. He chaired this committee, and in chairing this committee, we did serious, awesome work. Staff member Rick Cordemanche from the Florida Bar, and he charged us, let's design it. We're 20 years later, let's make this happen. It's time to make something happen and change this and finish the job that we've only partially accomplished. And he charged us to take the work of the original commission and go even further with it. And this team and their folks here, from the Guardian Ad Litem program, Angela Vigil, Jerry Glynn too, Dennis Moore, Tim Stevenson. These guys, everybody, have worked hard to try to reach something that we can make happen. And I know that this year, coming year, under the leadership of President Michelle Suskauer, we will achieve that vision. We will make that happen because there's work that we have to do and finish. This Florida Bar Foundation has been there from the very beginning, supporting this great work. They have been behind us to go create an army of child advocates. All of you, have been part of all of this because you've contributed year after year to this very important work that we are doing and trying to finish and trying to accomplish now. With all that work you heard about, we know that only 10% of the children in the state of Florida have lawyers and only 80% of them have guardians. And yet there's 70,000 plus members of this Florida bar who can stand up, and if every one of us took a case and fought for this mission of trying to ensure that we had a guardian, we had a lawyer, we make this happen, and we spend our time in the lives of children, we will make a difference, we can make a difference, and it's because of all of you and all of the work you're going to do and all of the work we have to finish, only because of you that I will accept this award on behalf of you to finish the job that we need to do. Thank you so much.
Well, I would like to once again congratulate Howard Talenfeld and Dr. St. Petery on receiving their awards. You gentlemen and your accomplishments are truly inspiring. But before we end this evening, I would like to remind you to once again take out those cell phones. We still need to get to 25,000. And let me remind you to send a text to 56512. I see a lot of blinking lights out there, but not enough, and we need to fill this up. So I would like to very much encourage you to take advantage. And if you haven't given here, please do visit our Florida Bar Foundation exhibit before the end of the convention. You have the power to increase access to justice and help us continue our mission. With that, I would like to say, congratulations to each and every one of our award winners. Thank you to all of our board members, both past and present, for your service here, to our past presidents and all of you that have supported the foundation over the years. Thank you for being here tonight.